Okay, question number 2. What can I eat and what should I avoid? So the top 2 questions. You know you're gluten sensitive. What do you need to eat, or what can you eat? And then what shouldn't you be eating? Very, very simply put, let's start here. What should I avoid? Avoidance really of any grain. So this is, bread, pasta, cereal, grain-based alcohols, not all alcohols, but grain-based alcohols, a number of your beers and things of that nature, donuts, baked goods, things made with grain, wheat, barley, rye, oats, but also we recommend avoiding other grains as well, even though they can be labeled gluten-free. I go into more depth. We'll put a link up to a much more in-depth breakdown of that, but corn, rice, in my opinion, should also be avoided. So those are, generally in a nutshell, what you need to avoid, surface level. And then what can you eat? Let's talk about that, because that's really probably the most empowering thing, the most empowering thing you can understand. So vegetables, and this is not a comprehensive list of every vegetable known to man, but this is a place you can get started very simply, right? So there are a number of different vegetables that are perfectly fine. Red peppers, beets, rainbow chard, squashes, cabbage, broccoli, cruciferous vegetables, and then the family of greens, lettuce greens, as well as squashes and root vegetables. Pretty simple. And then there's fruit. Fruit, it's better to choose, in my opinion, the low glycemic fruits, which I have listed here: apples, pears, plums, berries, and watermelon as well. Not saying that you can't have some of these others that are higher glycemic, but this is especially true because so many with gluten issues also have blood sugar regulation issues. There's a link between gluten and diabetes as well. So sometimes these higher glycemic can be more problematic, but nonetheless, they are gluten-free and they are safe to eat. You just have to watch quantities. And then, so beyond that, we've got variety of different meats. So you've got beef, you've got poultry, and then you've got also, what's not on here is organ meats. So things like liver, kidney, if you can do those things, and then as well fish, any wild caught fish. Now, what's important to remember about this is that with meat and poultry, you do want to choose grass-fed. You want to choose organic where possible. Why? Because if it's not grass-fed, it's being fed grain. And not that there's grain in the meat per se, but those grains they're feeding these commercialized farmers are feeding these animals are loaded with pesticide, right? These are GMO grains that have been double doused with glyphosate, and you don't want to eat meat that's contaminated with those types of chemicals, especially if you're gluten sensitive, struggling with illness and trying to overcome illness. A lot of people fail to recover even on a gluten-free diet because the quality of the food they're choosing is poor. The same is true when we're talking about seafood. Look for that delineation, wild caught. Now there's this new term in marketing, it's called sustainable. Sustainable means nothing for human health. It means that the farmer can sustainably grow fish in a net in the ocean, feeding them genetically modified grains as a food source. How many fish have you ever seen jump out of an ocean into a cornfield and snack down? That doesn't happen, and it's not the native food of fish. So we want wild caught because we want the fish eating what's in their element. This is what makes the food healthy for us. And then going backwards just a little bit here. So we were talking about fruits and vegetables. So with these, again, the choice should be organic, again, to avoid the pesticide exposure. Now, if you want to get a full breakdown, I've got some links up here as well on the board. These are all just resource links for you. Very comprehensive resources going much greater in depth on what foods to avoid beyond just the traditional wheat, barley, and rye, but also what foods you can eat beyond what we just discussed. And then as well, a major recipe index with hundreds of recipe options for you with healthy and tasty meal planning, produced by myself and my wife, as well as our staff, our Gluten-Free Society staff chef. So take advantage of those resources.